recording, so we're gonna try to sync this up all in one take. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Braxton Miller. I go by @BraxtonMillerPhoto on Instagram, formerly IlMill. To those who have been sub for a while, thank you. Today we're deep diving into a camera that's extremely special to me, the Leica Q2. This is my 5-year review. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, for those of you that have been subbed to me, you know that I've been on a big hiatus, and really one of the biggest parts of this review actually is that time. This camera has been a part of this story that I'm about to tell, and it's been a trusty companion that's been by my side the entire time. So during my time away from this channel, I was suffering from some pretty serious health conditions, mainly related to my Lyme disease. I was struggling with it at the time, and also had found out that there was mold in the house that I was living in, so I was dealing with mold exposure as well. And Lyme and mold generally don't go well together. So during that time I took a big hiatus, and I actually sold a lot of my cameras to be able to fund some of my Lyme treatments. One of the first treatments I received, my father had drove me over 12 hours in New York City to see a specialist because I couldn't even drive myself. During that time, sometimes just getting out of bed was all the accomplishment that I could muster. I really kind of fell out of the rhythm of taking photographs. I still took photos, but at a much lower rate. It had came to the point where I had sold actually all my cameras except my Q2 reporter. I knew that there was no way that I was going to be able to be Q-less, per se. A demo Leica Q from Leica Store Las Vegas, the Type 116, was my first in-store camera purchase that I'd ever made, and I had an original Q2 from the day it dropped. I was also fortunate enough to be able to actually work with Leica on the Q2 monochrome with a talk, review, and test. So the Q2 that I had I actually had moved some stuff around and grabbed a Q2 reporter when it had dropped. So this review will be my entire time with the Q2, the original version, and then the reporter variant. So as you can imagine, the Q series has been extremely near and dear to my heart, which is what brings us now here to this review and why we're here. This whole culmination of my story of going through my things with Lyme and having the Q2 with me, and really it becoming the last camera that I even owned. It's been through a lot of trials and tribulations for me, and I'm, by the grace of God, am here to be able to give you this review today. So let's start with the basic outline here. I'm going to give my first initial main points and main favorite parts of the camera, and then we'll get to some images, and then after that I'll kind of summarize and give a synopsis on the system. This is by no means a technical review. This is more of a story of my time with this camera and the things that have been impactful and how the system has been impactful. Now this is kind of the part of the video where I can potentially ramble on, so I'll try to keep it a little bit more concise, but my favorite parts about the camera. First, the size. I absolutely love the form factor. I think you get definitely a very discreet little package, and many times you can get into places and spaces that you couldn't with a much larger camera, and you also catch moments that are much more quiet, because if you're there fiddling with your camera, it doesn't necessarily end up being as covert, maybe might be the right word, and you can sometimes take subjects out. Maybe if they know that you're going to take a photograph, you sometimes can be kind of from my perspective and the way that I take photographs, you can be ruining a moment, especially with family. I use this camera to be able to document my people that are around me and moments with my people. That's really where I think that for me this camera shines and why I love it so much. Also, to the point of size, during that time I really was not feeling well, as I've stated, and smaller camera was better to bring along, as it was tough to always pack a ton of gear and have stuff to think about. And I really even struggled with some of the M series, where you're thinking about all of your settings and you're thinking about how to you're getting your focus, and there's so many more things. The Q2 really for me kind of just gets out of the way. That's the one thing that I really have enjoyed, I think, and why I get along with it so well, is I oftentimes see things that sometimes an M system, I'm a little bit slow to get there. The Q2 is generally extremely snappy. It can, struggle with focus oftentimes in low light, but every other time it really is very solid autofocus system, and it would catch things and keep up with me, which is, again, not having to think too hard. That was one of the biggest things of that time, was I did not have the mental bandwidth. I mean, if you look back at some of my videos, I'm very slow to speak. I struggled with a lot of things that almost come easy now, but it really was something to work through, and the size of the camera really helped. So my second point, to piggyback on the size, the leaf shutter. It's nice and quiet. You never know when a photo is being taken. And with a leaf shutter also comes really steady handheld shots. I can handhold it almost down to 1 second with very little shake. So with it being so easy to handhold, obviously there's a ton of ways to use the camera. It really opens up a lot of possibilities, because you have the 1.7 that helps you in low light. The ISO is good. And then you really can have a lot of creative control over how you want to use the camera, because you can keep your ISO low and still stop down and just have a little bit slower shutter speed. And I feel like it really helps. And lastly, the biggest thing about this camera is the 28 Summilux that's attached to this body. You can't get much better than that. And having the ability to have autofocus on an M level lens is a pretty interesting situation to find yourself in. Also, the Summilux M stuff, brand new now, is around 8,000, and used, it's not really ever going under 5. While I've shot both, the M Summilux is a little bit softer. I feel like it's a little bit more refined of a lens. It's a little bit smoother throughout the whole process. And obviously the focus is a little bit smoother, I feel like, but that's obviously working with an M rangefinder, so it's tough. You're not really comparing the same lens, but they are the same lens to some extent. I found that the 28 Summilux on the Q, probably a little bit sharper. I feel like the fall off depth is a little less than the M, but obviously it's tough to be able to really compare the two, because they're both extremely high level lenses, and really it's what your personal taste is as far as what you'll see, but that's just my experience with the lenses. Now, with the Q2, the fact that you can shoot it at 1.7, it's an extremely flexible camera, and it allows you to be able to shoot in low light and keep your ISO down, so you can still get really solid stuff that you don't have to push up. In my experience, the autofocus is extremely solid. In daylight, it's always going to be pretty much on the money. In low light, it's going to struggle. Leica's kind of, known for not having the best autofocus. I've heard that the SL3 stuff is much improved, but as of right now, the camera in question is the Q2, and the Q2's autofocus in low light does definitely struggle. If you turn on the lamp, it does help, but I don't like having the lamp on, as obviously it's an indicator that you're about to take a shot anyway, so I don't really like keeping the focus lamp on. Now, since covering the lens, I think a natural progression is to talk about the images, and no better way to talk about the images than to just show you images. I've compiled almost 13,000 images, and I've gone through them all. I re-went through them all painstakingly and arranged them for you here. I just went in chronological order. It seemed like the best way to do it. I tried to kind of keep it concise. It is going to be a little bit long. There's so many images that I wanted to share, and a lot of images that I'm proud of that I made, especially during the time where I wasn't feeling as well. So without further ado, here are the images. Okay, so we're back. Hopefully you enjoyed the images. Obviously, it was a really nice experience to be able to relive those images and share those with you. I can remember what I was feeling when I made those images. And being able to look back at some of those and see and relive those positive times and not just remember it for what it was is, to me, which remembering it for me is sick, tired, and worn out. Getting to kind of see those moments with fresh eyes was an interesting experience for this video, and I really think that that's probably the main thing that photography is for me. It's documentation. It's being able to remember those moments and having those things, and the Q2 has allowed me to be in those places and spaces and get those images that I probably wouldn't have been able to in any other way. Now, to avoid too much sentimentality, let's talk the last final points about this camera. What's the last question? The last question is, after 5 years of using this system, how does it hold up? How has the camera held up? The main thing to be applauded by Leica is that these cameras are made to last a lifetime. They don't have the best tech. They don't have the newest features, but they are image-making machines. It's reminiscent of a time where you drove a car and you could drive it for 200,000 miles and not have any issues. Is this camera going to be keeping up with sports action? No. But is this camera a camera that will follow you to the gates of hell and not waver? Yes, this is what this system does. It is weather sealed, it's dust proof. You can take it anywhere, do anything with it. I believe, in my personal opinion, the Q2 will be a camera that stands the test of time. In conclusion, the Q2 Reporter will remain around my neck for a very long time. It's been one of the best purchases that I've ever made, and this specific camera has been there with me during some of my lowest times and some of my highest times. So I've grown extremely fond of this specific camera. Is this camera for everyone? No. There'll be plenty of people that will find reasons not to like this camera. You can find plenty that have more to offer in a spec sheet. But yes, it works for me. That's really my main goal with all of my reviews, is I'm not trying to necessarily sway anyone in any direction. I can only give you my experiences. I really actually look back at a lot of my videos more like a time capsule of what was happening and what I was doing and who I was with and how I felt about that camera at that time. And hopefully someone finds some kind of value in my stories. I'm extremely excited to be back here on YouTube. I hope that I can keep bringing content like this. I have some more stuff planned. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below and I'm happy to get back. I'm actually working on another review as we speak, and it's not even a Leica, so we'll see what that is. And I really appreciate all the people that have been subbed, hanging in there. Hopefully we can grow that subscriber list a little bit more so I can keep making these videos at a higher clip for you guys. But I'm really excited to be back, and I hope to see you in the next one.